Houston's original neighborhood downtown is for everyone. It's our open-hearted home for our biggest celebrations and our treasured hidden gems. Come explore downtown with some amazing free events through Downtown Houston Plus, like the Summer Trivia Nights at Trebley Park throughout the summer with topics like The Office, Taylor Swift, and more. Learn more at downtownhouston.org. Downtown Houston, get energized and revived. It's hot outside, and you can cool off from the heat with the summer exhibitions at the Contemporary Arts Museum, Houston. Explore the unseen dynamics of Houston's Freedmanstown with Theaster Gates's The Gift and the Reneg. Or visit otherworldly planets and ecosystems with Olivia Erlanger's If Today Were Tomorrow. Admission is always free at the Contemporary Arts Museum, Houston. For more information, visit camh.org. I'll see you at the Contemporary Arts Museum, Houston. It looks like Mayor John Whitmire and County Judge Lina Hidalgo are marking their relationship as it's complicated after a Facebook comment sparked some fresh controversy between the two political figures. We'll also get into the latest scandal at the Texas Medical Center and why one murder suspect has been waiting inside the Harris County Jail for 18 years without a trial. Houston Public Media's Lucio Vasquez joins me to break down those stories and more. It's Friday, July 28th. I'm Raheel Ramzanali, and here's what Houston's talking about. Lucio, welcome back in, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's always a pleasure chatting with you. Before we jump into the news, I want to ask you a question about an episode we published yesterday, the best summer road trips to take from the city of Houston.
Oh boy. Okay.
Do you have a summer road trip that you always take?
Not always take, but I do love West Texas so much. I love West Texas. And the last time I went, I think was January of 2022. It was a road trip just with myself and my camera, drove all the way over there, got there at 2 a.m. And at the time I didn't look at the weather. And so I got there and realized, oh, it's 12 degrees and I'm staying in a tent for the next 2 days. So I basically bundled up every piece of cloth that I had over my body and tried to survive throughout the night.
Oh my gosh.
But I mean, despite that, it was an incredible trip. The views are really just absolutely stunning. You could see every single star. So that's personally my favorite.
I love that. Yep. We talked about going to Big Bend National Park yesterday on that episode. So another vote for West Texas. I love that. Well, you know the drill. We're going to talk about the big news of the week. We're going to talk about most overlooked story, and then we'll get a moment of joy. So Lucio, start us off. What was your biggest story of the week?
My biggest story is, well, I'm sure we've all heard about the ongoing perceived tiff between Mayor John Whitmire and County Judge Lina Hidalgo. And something happened again this week in which Lina Hidalgo and her fiance had an engagement party. It was Tea Party themed. They had posted photos on social media, and then Whitmire seemingly comments, "Oh, wonderful. He sure looks like a nerd." And, the funny thing too, I was speaking with Lina Hidalgo for a completely unrelated story the morning after, and I didn't even realize it had happened. So I was speaking to her, and she starts talking about the comment, and I'm like, what? Wait, what? What happened? And so I'm like live reacting to the comment as she's on the phone with me. And then she begins to tell me like, it's she thought it was unnecessary. She was just as surprised as probably we were. And she called it a cruel comment. But again, she later said later in the day that she's also a nerd, right? She finds that being a nerd is not a derogatory thing. We've seen her dress up as multiple Star Wars characters throughout the years for Halloween. It's like a hidden thing. But yeah, it was just another ongoing, moment in the saga between the weird relationship those two have.
Yeah, there's never a down week here, right? It always seems like there's something happening. And when I initially saw this on X, I was blown away by it because I thought it was a fake account that commented on the picture because I
think we all did, yeah.
Yeah, we were like, wait, this can't be real. So my initial thought was, wow, Mayor Whitmire runs his own social media because he is on there just commenting, having the time of his life. And it was so absurd and weird. And the other thing that came to mind was when my parents first started using social media, I would always call them up and be like, Mom, Dad, don't do that. This felt like one of those moments. It's like, you cannot comment on another political figure's Facebook post about her engagement, especially one that it seems like there's a lot of tension between the two of you, and call her fiance a nerd. It was so crazy.
And, this isn't even the first time of course, during the storms that had happened over the last month and a half or so, there was a little bit of a tension during a joint press conference they had. After the storm, I think Whitmire had commented on former Mayor Sylvester Turner's Twitter or X page, excuse me. It's not Twitter anymore. Yeah. And he had commented silly in response to Turner and Commissioner Rodney Ellis just surveying damage. He's unfiltered. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, he does not care. Now, what does this mean for the long-term relationship, right, between two of the most important figures in the area?
Yeah, that's a great question, right? We saw, at least leading up to that joint press conference, they were having separate press conferences ahead and even during the pretty major storms we had in the area. And it seemed that the response, at least the perception of it, right, that it was disjointed, right? Under Mayor Turner and Hidalgo, they definitely had a better relationship, at least, forward-looking, right, that we could see. And it kind of gives a sense that, perhaps the authorities in power and whatnot aren't necessarily working together, so maybe the system isn't as strong as it possibly could be. Whether that's true or not, that remains to be seen, but at least that's the perception, right?
One last thing on this. If they were friends and they had this jovial relationship and he made that comment, this is a no story, right? It's just like, whatever. Yeah. It's not a big deal. They're just joking around. Like, I make comments like that on my good friends' posts all the time, right? But this one, knowing the tension there, is like, come on.
Yeah, he had said that in a statement after, he said that it was a lighthearted moment. And, again, if the relationship was better, then I totally agree. Me and my friends, we rib each other, right? It's all in good fun. But if someone who thinks I hate them, then I say a jovial comment like that, that's not going to really go over well, right?
No. All right, Lucio, I'm going to get to my biggest story of the week and another crazy story happening in the Med Center. Baylor St. Luke's Medical Center and several affiliates have agreed to pay a record $15 million settlement to resolve a federal lawsuit that 3 of its heart surgeons were running multiple complicated heart surgeries at the same time without the proper oversight and violated Medicare rules. Basically, these 3 doctors, Joseph Caselli, Joseph Lamales, and David Ott, were accused of leaving heart surgeries to unqualified medical residents so they could, quote unquote, perform simultaneous operations, and then allegedly lied on medical records that they were present the whole time and then submitted false claims to Medicare for reimbursement. This is all according to the U.S. Attorney's Office. A whistleblower brought this to the authorities' attention and will get $3 million as well. Perhaps making the whole situation even worse is that one of these doctors, Joseph Caselli, is still treating patients according to the Houston Chronicle, and allegedly the Baylor College of Medicine knew about this practice and supported the doctors by giving them trainees and operating rooms, according to this lawsuit. Now, this has real impact on patients. The lawsuit says that at least 4 patients died under one doctor's care, and patients had to be under anesthesia for longer and had excessive bleeding. Really not the best moment for Houston's famous medical center, Lucio.
Yeah, when I first read the story, I was kind of blown away, right? These are pretty incredible allegations. They apparently had made millions of dollars due to this alleged scheme, right? So apparently the doctors were being paid for every surgery, right? And so if they could perform multiple surgeries at the same time, they would increase their paycheck, and then obviously increase the amount of money coming to the hospital itself. It's crazy. And it's scary too, as someone who, I've been to a hospital. A lot of us have been to a hospital. It's a very vulnerable time for us, right? Can you imagine being on that operating table in a very vulnerable situation in your life where you're literally opening up a person and the doctor's like, okay, I'll be right back.
Yeah, I got to go take care of the other person. And that's why I want to bring attention to this whistleblower who did such a brave act here of letting this all out and letting us know what's happening, right? Because my uncle actually had open heart surgery a few months ago. And I remember the process of, we had no idea. Once he was taken back, you have no idea what's happening, right? You'll get updates that,
Mm-hmm.
hey, they've completed 50%, this and that, but you don't know if the doctor is there. You don't know who's doing it, right? In this situation, the doctor is leaving to go to another open heart surgery and letting a medical resident complete the rest of the surgery or parts of it. That's scary. That is terrifying. You have no idea what's happening back there. So for this whistleblower to shed light on this, wow. I mean, just amazing.
And, of course, there's like the court of public perception as well, right? I mean, let's say hypothetically that this all resolves with like, people being held accountable and policies being put in place that prevent this from happening in the future. I mean, still, there's always going to be that thought in the back of your head, potentially, where like, oh, they did this in the past. Perhaps that trust isn't necessarily there. And a lot of these hospitals, they really rely on that trust, right? I mean, if you're going to be treating someone, you need someone to actually feel comfortable enough to allow you into their, personal sanctum.
When my wife was giving birth to our second daughter, we knew that her OB-GYN would be going to several patients during the afternoon rush, right? There was 5 or 6 women at the time giving birth. So they told us ahead of time, look, you're going to have one nurse with you. The doctor's going to be rotating through different rooms. We're just letting you know now. So you had the heads up. I wonder how different this would be if patients knew about it, instead of these doctors just going and running this. The only way to call it, I guess, is a scheme, right? Because they did get money out of this, Medicare money. So it's just heartbreaking. I hope there is some punishment here outside of this $15 million. But according to this lawsuit, because of this deal, I don't think there will be more punishment coming down here.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a matter of just waiting and seeing, right?
All right, let's keep it moving and get to our most overlooked story of the week. What do you got for me?
Yeah, so another story at the Harris County Jail. I've been trying to cover the jail for the last 2 years now, and at this point, there's finally some movement, right? At least in Commissioner's Court, the county officials seem to have been putting more emphasis on actually trying to solve the overcrowding, the understaffing, the increase of violence and deaths inside the jail itself. And so during Commissioner's Court, which happens once a month, they've had the standing agenda item to basically discuss new data that's being found by one of the county departments. This week, they discussed the jail's mental health competency program. That's basically a program where, say, if you're accused of murder, right, but if due to one reason or another, you are deemed incompetent to stand trial, you're put through this program in order to hopefully restore that competency so then you can stand trial for the crime you're accused of. The problem they found is that whenever you're put through this program and then you're brought back to the jail, you're basically rebooked and everything is reset. And so this tends to elongate the stay of that person. And of course, if the program is needed, 1, 2, 3, 5, however many times, then that could really, increase the amount of time someone stays in the jail. I mean, there's one person, there's an extreme case, but there's a person who's accused of capital murder, and he's been in the jail for nearly 18 years because of the fact that he keeps going in and out of this program. And so they're trying to look at, what they could possibly do to make this program work a little better.
How common is this?
That's a great question. And I think that's something they're still looking at, right? I mean, this is not a singular case, this man who's been in there for 18 years, but it's definitely the more extreme one. But they say that, people who are deemed mentally incompetent and need to go to this program, I mean, a lot of people can stay for more than a year, nearly a third of those between 2 and 5 years. And I believe it's 1,400 people have been in custody for more than a year. Yeah. And so it's not a singular case, but, unfortunately for one individual, a lot of time has passed and he hasn't even had a trial for the crime he's accused of. So he could very well be innocent.
That is heartbreaking to hear, right? Because they don't get their day in court and you're just stuck in this endless cycle.
Yeah,
also, for the victims of the crime, justice is never served, right? Potentially.
Yeah, it's just another thing, right? I mean, again, I've been covering the jail for a few years now, and it's always seemed to me like an octopus with an endless amount of tendrils. Mm-hmm. The octopus is the criminal justice system, and then the tentacles are the overcrowded jail itself. The court backlog that still surpasses 100,000 cases since Hurricane Harvey in 2017. We have understaffing at the jail itself. And so, of course, they're unable to properly care for the people in the jail. So that leads to people potentially dying due to medical neglect or people, hurting each other or hurting guards. There's so much going on at the jail that it's almost hard to keep track of. And so, again, this is just another data point to focus on.
Yeah, it's a story that I know you'll keep your eyes on, and we'll find out more as we, of course, learn more about this and how they solve this. So definitely let us know when there's a big update on this, because this is just wild.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely.
Hi, I'm David Plotz, CEO of CityCast. Or, as I can say now, thanks to a few weeks with Babbel, hola, soy David Plotz, el jefe de CityCast. What if in 2024 you got a little bit better every day? When you're learning a new language with Babbel, that's exactly what you're doing. And if Babbel can help me start speaking a new language in just 3 weeks, imagine what you could do in a full year. I got started with Babbel because I realized that my girlfriend, who's a native Spanish speaker, and my son, who's in AP Spanish, were conspiring against me, or I thought they were conspiring against me in Spanish. I wanted to know what they were talking about. And now, thanks to literally just a few weeks of Babbel, I'm starting to be able to eavesdrop. It is rare that something so fun and simple, and Babbel is super fun and very simple, is also so useful. So here's a special limited time deal for CityCast listeners. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription, but only for CityCast listeners at babbel.com/CityCast. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/CityCast. Spelled BABBEL.com/CityCast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Houston's original neighborhood downtown is for everyone, and it's poppin'. It's our open-hearted home for our biggest celebrations and our treasured hidden gems. From the world-class theater district to incredible green spaces like Discovery Green, downtown is the place to be. In fact, more people visited downtown Houston last year than the entire population of Dallas, Fort Worth, Austin, and San Antonio combined. There's no better time to live downtown than now. From starter apartments to luxury lofts, everyone can take advantage of the arts, business, culture, entertainment, food, and recreation. Now, you might think of downtown as only the heartbeat of Houston's regional economy, which it is, but there's so much more to it, including free events throughout the week with Downtown Houston Plus. From the summer trivia nights at Trebley Park to 713 Day at Market Square Park on July 13th, you can find something to do and eat and watch in downtown Houston. Learn more at downtownhouston.org. Downtown Houston, get energized and revived. Okay, my most overlooked story of the week. Look, we're a car city, right? And with the closure of Houston B-Cycle, the cancellation of Metro's bus rapid transit system, and the scaling back of different transportation priorities under Mayor John Whitmire, Houston's car culture doesn't seem likely to change anytime soon, Lucio. And we have some new information here from Replica. They did this study on how many daily miles are driven by Houstonians. Can you guess how many miles the average Houstonian is driving every day?
Oh my gosh. I'm going to say at least 100?
A little bit lower. Lower.
Maybe I was extreme. I don't know.
The daily miles driven by a Houstonian is 30.4, which puts us about 18th in the nation. And the average minutes traveled per person came in at around 109 minutes. Only 8% of Houstonians said walking was their main mode of transportation. And by the way, Houston's traffic is worse now than before the pandemic, according to INRIX. Yeah, I mean, look, you said about 100, but even 30.4, think about that. That's a lot of driving every day. And then 109 minutes traveled. That is really high.
I was closer to the minutes. And now that I think about it, the amount of time I spend in traffic, I think I was maybe thinking I was traveling longer, but I live about 10 minutes away from my station. Sometimes it'll take me about an hour, maybe an hour and 10 minutes to get home.
Wow.
The traffic is pretty extreme, from my perspective. And this has been a point of contention for a lot of folks, right? I mean, do we invest in public transit or do we widen, I-45 and whatnot? And so I can't say I'm surprised that things are looking pretty rough. I mean, I'm assuming also with the rise in the population of Houston, there's just more people on the road.
Yeah, and the other thing, traditionally the 9 to 5 traffic rush, right, 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. were the biggest, but now it's extending out even more. It's going 10 to 4 as well. So
Oof.
that traffic rush is starting earlier as well. So at this point, the way the population is growing, we got to do something.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's been interesting just to see the discourse, right, over, whether or not we need to widen the highway, for example. I mean, there are some studies that suggest that would actually make traffic worse.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, it's been a long running debate, and this is still something that's going on because they're thinking about expanding I-45 south now. TxDOT is. So this is something that we're going to probably continue to talk about for the next few years at least.
All right, we got to end on a high note here. So, Lucio, give me your moment of joy.
My moment of joy. So I'm a journalist, and so I often describe my job as like, I look into the sun, and so I can describe it for others so they don't have to, So
Mm-hmm.
like sometimes, especially, covering criminal justice, it's a very heavy job. So my moment of joy is whenever I'm able to get off of work and then hang out with the people I love and care for and perform on stage. Actually, I perform improv at a theater called Comedy Sports here in Houston, and it's a blessing. It truly is a blessing because, I feel like, if you were to meet me on stage, I'm a very different version of Lucio than you're talking to right now, right?
Yeah.
I don't have a mic in front of me and, I'm trying to make you laugh. So it's a really great thing for me to kind of shed the journalist skin, if you will. It's very therapeutic. And so my moment of joy is just to be able to do that, on a weekly basis.
That is so cool. How long have you been doing improv?
Oh boy, I've been doing it for, 5 years now. 2 years specifically at Comedy Sports. It's been a long time. It's been a wonderful time, truly.
That is so cool. Now, can listeners come watch you?
Yes, yeah. I mean, I'm nervous, right? Because I'm a journalist here, right? But the people who have seen me often have described like, oh, I would have never have guessed you were a journalist after you do like, a weird Arnold Schwarzenegger impression on stage. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. But yes, the short answer is yes. There's shows Friday, Saturday. There's also a bunch of different shows. The Comedy Sports main show is like a family friendly. You can bring your kids and it's kind of comedy for everyone. But yeah, definitely come one, come all, it's a good time.
I love that. I love improv. I took classes in college. I actually recommended taking improv lessons on a previous episode about leaving your comfort zone in the city of Houston.
Oh, absolutely.
My daughter and I recently started watching Whose Line Is It again, and she loves it. Like, improv is going to cross all generations. It's just the best.
100%. Not to make this a plug or anything, but definitely, if you're listening, improv classes, try it.
100% agreed. Okay, my moment of joy, it's more of a heads up to everybody. Look, if you're traveling next week, the lines are going to be crazy at Bush Airport, at Hobby Airport. We've already started seeing videos from Bush Airport where the traffic is just nuts, okay? So this is more of a heads up that please leave early. Don't get stressed out because it's going to be packed next week for the 4th of July weekend. People are traveling. People are coming into the city. So please be prepared and enjoy your vacation. If you are taking one, don't get stressed out. Again, don't show up an hour before thinking that, oh, I always just show up an hour before. I've seen videos where the TSA pre-check line is taking even longer.
Oh, yeah.
So please be prepared. That is my moment of joy, is that I want everyone to be happy and stress-free when they're traveling. So please remember to leave a little bit earlier.
A joyous warning. I like that a lot.
Lucio, thank you so much for joining us. That was a lot of fun and hope to have you back on soon.
Really appreciate you guys. Thank you.
That was Lucio Vasquez of Houston Public Media. You can check out all of his work and the stories we discussed in our show notes. That will do it for this week here on CityCast Houston. Our producer is Carleon Jones. Our newsletter editor is Brooke Lewis. Laura Eisensee is our executive producer. And I'm your host, Raheel Ramzanali. Our music is by the band All the Kimonos. We'll be back on Monday with our guide to July in Houston. Thank you for listening, and I hope you learned something new. Did you have that on your bingo card for 2024 where the mayor would be calling Lina Hidalgo's fiance a nerd on a Facebook post? Was that like on the upper left or bottom left of your bingo card?
As a journalist, I think I should refrain from telling you what's on my bingo card. That might give away a little too much about me. But yeah, I'm not surprised.